this. You go to your preferences, it tells you really what you should be doing. Okay, view and print the startup guide. It goes through with, you know, how to getting started, reviewing the presentation samples, and it's right there in front of you. I've gone through that, so all 4 pages are there, so you know how to get started in preparation for this. Edit my agent profile. You need to have a profile. Everything requires a profile. You need to have one on Zap. You need to have one on coldbanker.com. You need to have one on Toolkit CMA. You need to have one on Realtor.com. You need to have one on Truly, a Zillow. Everywhere you go, you need to have a profile. So my suggestion to you would be to go in and make sure you have a profile everywhere. But this says edit my agent profile. So there it is for me, my agent name, my title, designation, realtor. It goes through your email address and so forth. All that data is there. So you need to have your profiles, you need to have your profile set up. So edit your profile with the contact information. Your photo. Add and change your agent photo. You have that opportunity, the opportunity in Zap. Part of this is your setup routine. If you have questions about it, how many of you have your own photo loaded on your hard drive? You just go in and pull it out and insert it. You have that. If we have difficulty with it, check with Neil and say, how do we go about getting my photos set up? I need to have my photo. Where is it? And it should be relatively current. So you have the photo. You go in and choose your file, and you can pull it in, and you can have what you may have to crop it. It may have to be a certain size. But you just need to have it set up for your personal pages. You can change, add your own personal page, such as your buyer or testimonials. Okay, document order, you can adjust that. Edit your resume. Each one of you should have a resume. You have a resume, you have a profile on Zap and other things. Have a resume. You are selling yourself on this presentation. This is your opportunity to meet with them and explain to them how good you actually are and what you can do. Plus, it serves you as a prompt, to go through. These programs, you can email them, you can put them on an iPad, you can put them on a smartphone, or even on a laptop. So you have different methods of presenting this information. Save presentations and flyers. You can save them for a number of days. Go back, take a look at them, edit them, add more photos. Delete photos, save listings, send presentations, those you've actually sent out within the last 30 days. Program settings. This is another good one. The back page on everything I've handed you today has program settings. Okay. Now, an interesting part of this that Neil will be able to work with you on is part of it that goes down to, you can use your real satisfied client testimonials to automatically feed in to Toolkit CMA. Okay, you just need to have your real satisfied vanity key, and you could, if you have that, if you don't, again, you can check with Neil, and I think you log into your real satisfied, and when you log in, I think it requires a vanity key. But I think auto-populating these is important. It's current information. It also allows for Zillow, but I would make sure. And we've had great results on these reviews. Testimony. What is the one thing that, if you can think of off the top of your head, that shows up most as what the customers and clients wish they had had? Better interaction with the agent. Communication. Communication is a key. You can slap all this stuff in front of them and say, read it. If you don't call them back and ask them about it, if you don't follow up with it, it's useless. Communication. Don't assume because you know something, they know something. I know what's going on in the market. I know why your home hasn't sold. I know that it's overpriced. I know that there haven't been showings. But and then the seller calls in and says, how come my agent hasn't communicated with me? You know all the information, pass it on to it, okay? So again, communication is a key. This also has to do with some rounding on your, and ranges. I wouldn't be too concerned about those, rounding to thousands of dollars. around to hundreds of dollars. But the key for me on this is that it's, you have the opportunity to have the data input from Real Satisfied, and that's, I think that's a real key. How many have gotten testimonials or gotten feedback from Real Satisfied? Most of you have. That's good. You know, I think that's, you know, to have that data. So that's the key for that. So all of this, and you can change the cover page photo. The cover page in all of this, you have options to change the photos, you know, of what you want to have for your cover page. It gives you options. You can go in and select from, you know, click to replace this photo. It has different ones you can use. I think that I'd be inclined to try to use someone that's representative of our area. If it's beachfront, you know, we don't have much beachfront unless it's, you know, we have something like, you know, Lake Sherwood, you know, and you could go out there and have that, which might be work. If you have that listing that shows a beach, you know, and a dock, then that's what you might want to use for this particular property. But try to do something that's representative of what you have.
Yes.
So presentations, okay. So you go through, you look at your profile, you set it up, you set your preferences, you take a look at everything. Presentations give you the opportunity now to select a present. You have a listing presentation. You have a pre-listing presentation, which goes along with Ninja. You know, what's my pre-listing packet look like? This has one already set up, okay? And gives you that opportunity to pick something. When you click on a presentation listing, it gives you over to the right the options of the pages to go through and have as part of what you would like to have in your presentation. If I go down to pre-listing, it changes the title, okay? Expired listing, it changes what you'd like to have in there. FSBO, buyer, and so on down the line. Presentation page template. So it gives you the options in the listing presentation to go through and say, I want the presentation page. You say, what does a presentation page look like? I don't know if I want it. If you click on the first one here, and it comes up, okay, here's the presentation page. You know, presented by whoever it's for, that's who it is. 122 pages on this if you want to go through 122. If you start printing it, it's going to be in color, just watch the time to elapse on your printer. It's just going to click and it's going to get it, okay? Be careful you do it wirelessly, that you're not printing on somebody else's printer in the office, because they get a little irritated with 122 pages. Walk in, they come out and say, who printed this? So, it's, but it goes through each one, and I would advise you to go through each one next. There's 2 of 22. That's what that page looks like. Do I want it or don't I want it? It gives you the chance to select or unselect. You go through and say, I like this, I don't like it, okay? So the key is to go through all of those, you know. There's the next one with a, if you go back, has no photo. No agent photo. Next one, agent photo. So you have to be kind of discerning as to what's being presented on the page. And then a cover letter. It goes through and gives you the information. When you go in and set up, you put in the person's name, the address, and what you like to have for the greeting, okay? And then that creates a cover letter, which is more or less your presentation to them. It'll have the current date on there. It'll have all of the data that's pulled from your profile. If your GRI, CRS information goes into that particular heading. Then you go through, do you want anything on legacy and network? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, okay? Is it relevant, is it not relevant? Is it something you like or you don't like, okay? And some of these you'll find say, I really don't give a hoot and a holler about it, you know? It doesn't make any difference, but it may depend on your market. Some of this data has been updated by corporate, some has been updated previously by Sheila. And now it'll be Neil. You go in, you take a look at the data, you know, is it accurate? Do we need to change it? Do we need to submit things for review? What do we need to do? But the key for you is to go through and I say, whoops, I don't want to do that. So I unselected it. So that's not going to appear in your check mark list down the line. Brand online, you know, this is some, you know, if it says that 85% of the people go to the websites first to look at homes, I delete that. 85% is not anymore in the upper 90s. I mean, so you need to be, in your mind you need to think, is it accurate, is it not accurate? If it's not accurate, don't use it. So you need to have an understanding of relevancy. And then trend reports, is it relevant or is it not relevant? How Coldwell Banker meets the needs of the seller. Critical, how do we meet the needs? What's your value proposition? What are we going to do for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, to make this information valuable? Okay, listening to our customers. Now, do we really listen? Sometimes we get so caught up in a presentation that we're thinking about what we're gonna say next instead of looking at what the person is sitting across from you. What's their facial expression? What do their eyes say? You know, what are they doing? You may need to pause and think about what's going on. So pay attention to what the customers are doing. The seller promise. We have those available in our packets, okay? We deliberated sometimes, should we have the seller promise, or the buyer promise, or shouldn't we? We elect to say, if we do the stuff that's on this form, we're gonna stand out above everybody else. If we do everything that's on there. If we go through that line by line by line, so when you sit down on top of the seller and say, we're gonna do this for you, we're gonna do this for you, we're gonna do this for you, you're creating value. You're trying to differentiate between you and what everybody else is doing, okay? So it's creating that value. If you're not gonna do it, admit it. Say, it's something we have to watch. Well, because it's a promise, because it's the bottom, you sign it, they sign it, and they say, if you don't do this stuff, I'm yanking the listing. I'm not gonna be a buyer's agent. This is a commitment, okay? You know, this is something you say you're going to do. So before you start passing them out, read it. You know, say, yeah, I can live with that, or I can't live with that, or I better, rephrase it or do something a little bit different. But the key is to know what you're saying or passing out. So seller promise. Customized marketing plan. You go in and sit down and say, I'm gonna have a customized marketing plan. They're gonna say, okay, what is it? What do you propose to do? I'm gonna put a sign in the yard. So everybody does that. I'm gonna put it on the internet. Everybody does that. I'm gonna have it in MLS. Everybody does that. So you say, you have to have something to say, no, this is what I'm going to do. You know, I'm going to present to you with list hub data every week or every 2 weeks, which shows how much information has been out there online, and why there might be a disconnect between what's showing on the internet and what you have. Okay, something like that. That's marketing, or that it's going to be boosted to Facebook. You know, we are picking selective areas, and we're boosting the open house to Facebook advertising. And wouldn't you agree with that? That's where a lot of people are looking. Like, oh yeah, try to get agreement. You know, get them to agree to what you're saying. So you need to have a plan. You need to, when you go in, if you're gonna say, I'm gonna do this, then say, this is what I'm going to do, okay? What is important to you is the sale of your property. That's true. You wanna get the best price, the shortest time in the market, convenience, good communication, and diligent effort by us. And then so you're asking to rank the following needs in order of importance, 1 to 5. Get a commitment from them on what they think is important. Don't preach to them and say, this is important when it may not be, but you're trying to get feedback. You know, get them to say, this is what's important to me. Then you're able to customize what you can do to the needs of the seller. It's customer service. You know, what I would be looking for as a seller may not be what somebody else wants. Somebody else may say, I need to be in Hoboken, New Jersey in 3 weeks. You know, so their commitment is a little bit different from mine. Says, yeah, I may want to move, I may not want to move, but what can you sell it for? And if a right buyer comes along and I get my price, then hey, I may consider selling. You know, it's kind of like, oh gee, Gary's a looky-loo, he may never do anything, but he's on the list, he's a qualified seller buyer, so I'll just keep him going, okay? But find out what's important to them. Marketing action plan, promotional strategy, property preview, price and terms offered. So what I would like for you to do is to go through each one of these and determine how relevant that is to you, okay? And you may need to customize it for each buyer, okay? This takes time. This takes time. It's nothing that, everything takes time. We as realtors are impatient, sellers impatient, buyers impatient. We're looking out to what is going to meet the need immediately, okay? So, but it's not that easy. How many of you ever heard of the 10,000 hour rule? 10,000 hour, okay? It takes 10,000 hours of concerted effort and practice to become proficient at whatever you're doing, okay? So that means basically at 2,000 hours, it takes 5 years, okay? I read you what Bill Gates talking about what he did. For free internet, computer access, It was available for 2 to 6 in mornings. He got up at 1:30 in the morning, snuck out of the house, walked 2 miles to get into a lab to do research for free use, and then walked back at 6 o'clock in the morning, okay? It takes effort. So if things don't happen overnight, it just takes time and practice, you know? And so just need to work at these things, and as you understand these processes, you become proficient. Then the next one comes along, you say, I can run with it because I understand this information. And you just build on what you have. So you've got a marketing action plan. So I'm not gonna go through all 122 of them, I'll let you do that, okay? Say, Gary, it's like, kinda like, I'm reading your eyeballs saying, move on to something else, Gary, you've said enough. Just like a listing presentation, okay? It's like, you have to read the expressions of what's going on, okay? So you've got those presentations, and you go all the way down the line, and you click what you'd like to have, and then unclick it if you don't want it. And then you can get to the bottom, you can check all, clear all, go to the next, and go through each one. Okay. So you've got presentations you can do. So you go through it. Does that make sense to you?
When you select or unselect, does that undo the check mark over there?
Yeah, you can select or undo it. Yeah, or check it. Or once you get through, you can go through and click them or unclick them. But it should select or unselect. Should do it for each one. Okay. And you can say, this is what I want. This is what I don't want. And you go back. Then you can go back once you have your presentation. You save it. And then you go back and you can edit it. I want to edit it from the start, or I want to edit it from the last point I was in there, or what do I want to edit. So you can go in, you can make the changes, you can modify it, you can tweak it. You can bring in more MLS data if you'd like to have it. You can change your search criteria, you can replace data. So you can have something and work and build on it. It even has, where's the one where you can do flyers. It's pretty slick on being able to do flyers in this. You just have to go through, and you can do those in IQ Office, you can do them any number of ways. But oftentimes people wonder, how do I create a flyer on this open house? How do I do it? You know, the old school way is to go in and print a client detail and let her fly. You know, it's not, that was the way you do it, you know. But now there are more colorful ways of doing it, making a presentation, because you're selling yourself at open houses. You're selling yourself on the marketing. And that's why we have a marketing person here. We have Neil on board with that, and we've had Sheila. They understand the importance of marketing. I'm not a good marketing person. I'm an Excel spreadsheet guy. You know, give me a bunch of figures and I'm a happy camper and I can take that and run with it. But how to make things look good, you need to go to the office here, go to the people who know what they're doing. Okay? If you were to ask me a marketing question, I would say, go talk to Neil. You know, this type of stuff I can go over, but what the visual presentation is, what looks nice, what's appealing, is something I have the experts take care of that. But this gives you the opportunities to go through and change all those. Let's say there's one I've set up as a sample. I've also included in here how to arrive at your MLS data. I've included a sheet in that. I can't remember now which one down the line it is, but this relies on importing data from your MLS. Are you all comfortable with MLS data? You know how to get it, you know how to arrive at it, you know how to pull it. Okay, that's the basis for this. It's the basis for the Paragon program. It's a basis for Focus First. You have to have a source of information, and that's where it is. So you get to this point. Let me just. Let's see if I want to go ahead and the data in there. Edit from the beginning. Let's start that out from scratch. Trying to find a good spot to go in and pull the data. Okay, let's just start. Prospect name, Jim. Not John, but Jim. so it automatically populates, there you go. So you have your data there, okay? Then it goes into your cover letter. That's populated from information that you've had before, okay? Here's what I want to get your MLS property data, okay? It already says that we're at Topeka Paragon, or Paragon 5. That's good. The MLS download guide is what I've printed for you. That should be in there, your download guide. If you click on your download guide, here's what you follow. Connect your MLS, how to do it. Click search and click residential. Click the criteria, available reports, and make sure the default MLS defined spreadsheet is selected and click search and search. And then you go through and get the properties you'd like to have, okay? Choose export. Click on export, then click favorite custom reports. Click Realty Toolkit and then click, this goes through step by step. Then click select. Under pictures to download, click all. That'll take all your pictures, or you can do just a cover photo. I do some with just cover photo, otherwise you're gonna get, in some cases now, 75 photos, and who wants 75 photos? You don't want that many. Sometimes a cover photo is sufficient, okay? And when prompted to save the file, you save the file. It's possible to go in here early on and save all your data. Save it in a file, name it something. And when you get to this point, just pull up the file you've already loaded. You've already gotten that information. If you can do it in advance, pull it over, you've got it, name it, Jim Smith, whatever the property address is, this is what I want to use for data for him, okay? Then you've got it out there, you save it as an Excel, save it as a file, and you get to that point, that's all you need to do is upload it. Because as for file reference, you just go in and collect the file reference. Because here it says choose file. You've already done everything else, so now just choose the file you want to upload. You choose the file, what it is, its name, and then upload the file, okay? So that's the MLS information that you need to go through, okay? So that gets you all of that data that you would like to have. Choose a file. There's too much data on there for everybody else to read. I don't have all my documents out there, but you just choose a file and then you will go ahead and upload it, okay? So that's going to be the source of all of your data on that. So now I'll go through and the presentation. So I've got the Sam and Susie seller for training, okay? I've got what I had on there for my CMA sheet. I've got the information that I have here, all of that's accurate. I've got my cover letter for them. I've done everything with that. I've got the data that I've pulled out. I've selected the properties. You can go in and select, you can unselect. Because you'll have a big data pool and you pull in the data, then you want to go through and select what you'd like to have as part of your CMA analyses. You may have a different time period, you may want to do it. So you select it. Select sort for output at price ascending. You can get MLS property data. You can clear it all. You can go in and you can ask for more data. So this is what I've selected in my data pool. Then you go in and select selected fields. I want address, style, beds, bath, half baths, total price, list price, sold price and list price, just some basic data to have on there. You could have the basement, below finished square footage, you could have all types of information in the world. And then your summary CMA will print in a portrait orientation. You can click to preview. Then the subject property you can enter manually, or in my case, I went back to a listing may have been 10 years old, or you can do that, and you go back and pull in more data. You can pull in another one and say, I'd like to upload this. You don't want to erase every field, every bit of information that's out there. You just want to go in and pull another listing that's older than everything else, but you've gone through and you found that it sold 8 years ago. And what you would like to do with that is populate it with the zone, the city, the square footage, all that information. So you go in and you click on it, you want to upload it, but you want to upload it as an addition to this information you already have, and it will pull in there, and then you can use that as your selected property. I didn't have a photo. So then it goes through with, here's the price, the subject property that I put in manually, and then the comparables. It goes to the comparables that are listed. It gives the information that it has out there, kind of like a CMA in Paragon, or something you would have in any of the other CMA reports. Recommended list price, 241 to 256, so it gives you a range, okay? The thing with the CMA, it's not spot on, that you've got some variance, If you come in at 253 and the seller says, I'd rather market at 257, there's no real difference between 253 and 257. When you think about it, buyers are gonna look in that range, so it's not gonna, it gives them the peace of mind saying, okay, I'll give you that. Mine was this, but we're close enough to work with it. If they said, I want it at 275, and say, I don't have anything that shows that, we really need to rethink where we are. Because some of this, it's give and take. You give them a concession of 4,000 or 5,000, and you work with it. If it's, if it's a 140, if it's 252, 253, chances are it's going to sell for 246 or 247, unless you've got prepaids that the buyer's asking the seller to pay. Usually it drops down to a certain, a certain level. So anyway, that's a price range that's listed. So I've created a presentation, CMA presentation for Susan Sammy Seller, and has all that information. I've gone ahead and I've created it. So now it goes through, I've gone through, I've edited, I've made any changes I'd like to have, and it's recreating it, And I can view it as a PDF, I can save it, I can email it, I can view it mobily, I can view a summary, and can create another presentation. So you've got all types of options. You can view it, you can save it, save your presentation to retrieve at a later time. I would recommend doing this just so you don't lose it, okay? And you can call it and name it something, and later on you can go in and delete it. Or you can open it and prepare a presentation, a PDF, and viewer to print or save. So let's just go ahead and save it. I'm saving it. It's always important, I think, to save the information that you have. If it doesn't take forever to save. Talk about patience. I'm sometimes patient, but sometimes I'm not very patient. Okay, view as a PDF. So this gives you the opportunity to go in and view it, the entire presentation. This presentation, 19 pages. I wanted one that wasn't too long, I wanted one that was fairly brief, and I wanted one that would fit well for presentation without 122 slides. Okay. So you've got the initial, you've got this first slide right there. Listing presentation for Sam and Susie Seller, prepared by Gary Nance. It gives my address, where I am. The cover letter that came from the information that we had their name in there. We had their name, we had their address, okay? The other information that comes through in here with the information at the bottom. This comes from your profile. No picture. I didn't have a picture in there, which I should have had. It's the kind of thing, if you're going to do a listing, you could go in and take a picture of it before you get to the house, and then load it up later on. You have a comparative market analysis, which has 44th Terrace, recently sold. It goes through all of that data. Advance that. Subject property, comparative market analysis. Then a map of comparable properties, I wanted to map it visually. You can go in and say, where are these specific homes based on the home that I'm looking at? So it graphs them and marks them, you know, it codes each one so you know where they are. The map properties, it picks that out. And then you can go ahead and aerial map them if you like to do that, with not just the visual, with the aerial map. And then it goes through with each comparable property currently on the market, gives you the, because chances are these people have driven by the house. They've taken a look at it and say, this is just like, my home is just like theirs, why isn't mine this value? So you go through and you can select their details, say, yours is just like it, you know, that's, and then through the comparative market analysis, it goes through all the data. Again, the market analysis, graphic analysis of currently on the market, how long they've been in the price range, an analysis of sold properties, list prices, sold price, it gives you an idea of the comparative analysis of list to sale, pricing